Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this morning's webinar. My name's Annette Evans, and I'm the General Manager of the Institute of Estate Agents, and I'd like to welcome you all. This morning's presenter is Debbie Wall-Smith. She's a property valuer, she's a property principal practitioner, and she's also a business broker. So I would like to thank you and welcome you all to this morning's webinar. It's a very informal, small group. And as you all know, we are here to discuss the budget for 2025-26. And it's all about how the actual new rates and proposed budget could affect everybody, property owners, landlords, developers, and all of this above. So I'm going to hand over to you, Debbie. Debbie and I we're sharing an office, but we are presenting from different computers. So I'm going to open the presentation and she's going to speak to it. And then she's actually going to go through how we can actually do the rates calculation. And she's going to show you all the processes up to the point of presenting your objections. As you're all aware, the deadline for presenting your objection is 2nd of May. So it's imperative that you pass this information on to as many people as possible. And I'm going to hand over to you now, Debbie. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm just going to switch my video on. Is my video showing? Sorry, I can't see myself.
Not yet.
Okay, there's an alarm sign here. I'll just sit at your computer.
That's a low response. We'll just bear with us for a second. We'll just hand it over.
So, yeah, sorry, my video isn't showing. Annette's muted. My video isn't showing, and Annette's just trying to work it out. For some reason, it was showing earlier, but there's now like an exclamation mark. Let me see.
Share presentation. Second, I'm seeing anything.
No, I can't.
Yeah, there we are. Okay, I'm going to skip.
Is my video on? Okay. Well, I'll just talk to the presentation if you can all hear me. That's fine. So can we go to page 2? Okay. So the Cape Town proposed budget for 2025-2026 is actually alarming. I read an article this morning where they were talking about the emotional tax of the VAT bill. Well, the emotional tax of what I have seen going down the line for this, the cost of what the City of Cape Town are proposing is absolutely frightening. So the city have introduced 2 new tariffs based on value, the municipal value, cleansing and sewerage. Water for single residential is based on municipal value. It was previously based on meter size. And what has happened with this, if your property is under 750,000, you basically have no fixed costs whatsoever. You don't pay rates, you don't have any fixed costs. The moment you over 750,000, they start kicking in. What I discovered this morning was that, say, a flat of 760,000, they don't even pay the electricity meter payment, but all the other costs do come in. On $1 million, I'll go to the numbers just now. Sectional title properties have 3 new fixed tariffs. And I worked out this morning on a property of 760,000, it's another 140 Rand a month that they previously weren't paying. Apartments used to pay, the body corporate would pay for the pipe diameter, and now each flat is going to pay a supply charge based on value. So if the value is, we'll go through the calculation just now, so I won't expand on that right now. You will have all seen that the electricity availability of supply for the home user increases by 38%. I'll go on to the commercial costs. The commercial costs are frightening. That's also about 38% for the electricity availability of supply, but on a much higher scale. It's going to go from 2,600 to 3,000 it's in that range, but you'll see the numbers just now. Cape Town, and what I've worked out, and the city have now admitted to, Cape Town traditionally had the most expensive electricity in South Africa, and they were getting a lot of flack about the cost of the electricity. The World Bank and Treasury have said that municipal bills must be transparent. So previously, the city were taking the profit that they used on electricity and putting it towards cleansing and putting it towards installing water, things like that. They now are going to take, they can't do that anymore. So they've dropped electricity consumption and put a lot out in the press that we've reduced the consumption cost. But what they've actually done now is just increase. And the other thing they've said is we've only increased rates by 8%, and we're the lowest rates in the country. But these 3 new tariffs are all based on value, which are effectively rates just under a different name. And if you add them all together, it's an 11% increase for properties of around up to R1 million. It's a 13% increase for flats. I'll show you that later, of R1 million, because flats didn't have these other tariffs before. It's a 20% increase for business premises over R5 million. Up until 5 million business premises, it's about an 18% increase. And that's just fixed tariffs. That's not including consumption. You haven't had a cup of water, you haven't switched on a light. This is just fixed tariffs increases. My home, the increase is 24% on overall, and that's because I save water and save electricity. If you're a big user of water and electricity, your increase is actually lower. So this budget is pro-wastage, which is just appalling. So on my second last line, Treasury now require transparency. So the city have to collect money and spend it in the same category. And that's why we have this new cleaning tariff. All these fixed tariffs are based on value. I've spoken about that already. So let's go on to, and if you look at the bottom line is the draft budget advert, which I will show afterwards, but you can download it because Annette's going to share the slideshow. So, but there's the link to the draft budget advert. You can go to the next slide. Okay. On the top left-hand screen, you'll see the rates calculator. If you haven't done it yet, and what I've suggested to Annette is that after she has people who want the recording, and it's going to be too big and cumbersome if we're going online and testing things. I wanted this to be a very interactive presentation. We'll go into the rates calculator for those who are present afterwards if you would like that. But you need a rates account open when you do the rates calculator, because you've got to fill in your current, your pipe diameter, your current water consumption, your current electricity consumption. So, and that's another one I have to show you separately, is the comparisons of residential properties, which I had on an Excel sheet. It was just too complicated to put it into a PowerPoint. So I'll just skip straight onto the commercial, and we'll do the residential comparisons later. So this example that I have here is a property which I valued in the last 3 weeks. You can see in June 2025, their fixed costs, their expenses on the end of June are 54,894 Rand a month. On the 1st of July, their expenses, because of the fixed tariffs, and this isn't consumption, because of the fixed tariffs increasing so much, their totals are going to increase to 63,908. It's a 20% increase in this building. And all the buildings I've done, that is what has happened, is going to happen with commercial property. So you have to encourage tenants to object as well, because the knock-on effect of this increase, landlords will pass the costs to tenants, and tenants will pass it on to the consumer. So as much as the city of Cape Town say, we're taxing the wealthy, they are taxing everybody in the city. And so you may pay 24% at home, but you're going to pay another 20% elsewhere. Schools also pay all of these charges. I've worked out Greenfields Girls' School, it's going to cost 500 Rand per child per year. Just the cleansing tariff, that's excluding the water and the sewage additional costs and the electricity costs. And you're going to see this over and over again. So schools, universities, everybody, hospitals, everybody's going to be paying for this. So you're going to pay it on your own. You're going to pay for it again in every cup of coffee you buy in Cape Town. Or it's saying that if I refresh my, I have to refresh my browser and then I may be able to. Fine. Okay, let me try my video again. Yes, my video is working. Yay. Okay, lovely. At last we worked out what the problem was. So this is an example, 20% direct costs. And that is before they've had water, flushed a toilet, or switched on a light in this building from 1 June to 1 July. And another property where I put in all the fixed charges, an evaluation I did in March, before the proposed budget was proposed and published, that property, the value of that property immediately reduced by 5%, because commercial property, it's your net income that determines your value. And if your costs increase by 20%, your value is going to drop. So the result is of what the city are proposing is that commercial property values across the board in Cape Town will reduce in value by 5% on the 1st of July. Yeah, you can next slide. Thanks. Okay, so sectional title, I did these calculations just to show the differential. So this is off the City of Cape Town fixed calculator. I've removed things like a refuse bin and water charges because normally water is in your levy, normally, unless the individual units are metered. And refuse bins are also in your levy. So I've removed the bin, I've removed the fixed water charge, and the consumption charge for water, and I've removed the consumption charge for sewage. And don't forget, in a big complex, the complex is also going to have an availability of supply charge, which is probably going to be the small power user 1. And that cost, would you mind just flicking back to the previous? So if you see that line, electricity fixed tariff under the yellow column, it's the second line in white. You can see the current fixed electricity tariff for the small power user is 2,943. It's going to go up to 3,873. The current fixed water tariff for the availability of supply charge is going from 211 on commercial property to 428. A property I recently valued, they had 12 water inlets. So just on their water inlets, they're going to pay another 2,400 Rand a month, just on the water inlets, because that's a fixed water tariff. And that's based on the millimeters. Sewage, they had no sewage before, but now they're going to have 12 sewage charges at 308 Rand per water inlet. It's unbelievably frightening. Go on to the next slide. Sorry, I just wanted to explain. So what is going to happen with sectional title? You will pay for the availability of supply charge on your value, but the water will be charged on volume. So the water consumption charge, and that's in a different table. I would have to show you that, and I haven't been able to work it out because I would need some sectional title body corporate levy invoices in order to calculate the volumetric charge. So all I've done here is show what is going to change from July 2024 to July 2025. So the first one is the property rates, and you can see the increase is low. This is for a property of 1 million. That's the first 2 columns. The electricity consumption, I just made an assumption of 250 kilowatts per property. So you can see this, electricity actually goes down. And this is what the City of Cape Town are going, rah, rah, we've reduced the cost. The home user charge for the property worth 1 million increases to 339. That's a fixed charge. The fixed basic water charge, I've made an assumption of 25 Rand, assuming, say, the 8 units in a complex, and the 8 units in a complex, and I've taken the 25 millimeter and divided up. That's where I came up with the 25 Rand, because people are indirectly currently paying for that. But now it will be just under 55 Rand for a 1 million Rand property, for 2 million Rand, and these are apartments, because the city has not provided a calculator for apartments. So we've had to make some assumptions, but I have confirmation via my councillor, Mikhail Manuel, that apartments, what is going to happen is they're going to charge the full value band, and that is going to be added to the body corporate invoice, who are then going to have to divide it up either by PQ or by value to the individual homeowners. So what you're seeing on the right there, the fixed basic water charge, the fixed basic sewage charge, and possibly the citywide cleaning are all going to be added to the invoice the body corporate get. I haven't got confirmation that the citywide cleaning is going to be invoiced like that. That may be added to your normal rates bill as an apartment owner. But the other 2 charges are going to be added to the body corporate, who are then going to have to redistribute it within the levy. But these are charges that were previously not there. So a 1 million Rand property, it's 54 Rand a month. And the amounts look little, but they add up. The fixed base is sewage. It's just under 26 Rand. The citywide cleaning, just under 27 Rand. And what I wanted to show you was how the city are penalizing higher valued properties. And 2 million properties are still under the wealth band. But you can see the citywide cleaning for the 2 million Rand property is 110. It's way more than the 1 million Rand property. And this just keeps growing. The fixed basic charge for sewage, it's a small growth. The water, it's a small growth. But you'll see, as by the time you get to 5 million, your increases are just massive. So here for flats, it's 13% and 15%. We also did the calculation for a single residential property. Single residential, 1 million Rand. So that's just a house on its own that's worth 1 million Rand. The increase is only 11%, using the same parameters for water and electricity. For a 2 million Rand house, I'm not showing it here, it's in a separate table, the increase is about 13% for a 2 million Rand house. So flats are paying higher increases than single residential houses, because these are completely new charges for them that weren't there before. So next screen. And then at one point, I would like us to open up to questions. So just to explain how the general valuation rule works, we are currently in GV 2022, which will be in place until the end of June 2026. In February next year, the City of Cape Town will publish GV 2025. That valuation date will be 2 July 2025. So be aware of your property value as at 2 July this year, because that is going to be the value that next year, when values are published, that you need to object against. And that valuation comes into effect in 1 July 2026, and this will reflect on the invoices in July next year. The reason I'm bringing in next year's valuation roll is that at the moment, your property might be 1 million on GV 2022, but you know very well that property values in Cape Town have increased by at least 5% per annum, and possibly more over the last year. I mean, well, it's 3 years, because it'll be, the new valuation date is now July 2025. And if you're currently under the 5 million bracket where the real wealth tax kicks in, next year your property might be over the 5 million bracket. and then you are really going to pay. So be very cognizant of your value of your property on 2 July this year, and write it down in your diary for the end of February next year, because end of February, the rates roll will be published, and then you need to think about, am I going to object or not? Another interesting thing that the city have applied in residential at the moment, every property has a residential rebate of 435,000. In the proposed budget applicable July 2025, so around the corner, that 435,000 rebate falls away for any property over 5 million. There is no rebate. You pay. Annette, will you just see if there's anything below that? No, that's the end of it. We'll go to the next page. Okay, so the next part is, please comment. In your comment, focus on affordability. Focus on the fact that the increases to businesses are going to be passed on to consumers. The city are very naive to think that landlords are simply going to accept a 20% cost increase in expenses. The big water users, and the other thing is because consumption tariffs are lower, this budget is saying we're giving you more water for free. The city are collecting these tariffs based on value to improve their water infrastructure. So what they should be doing is saying the more water you use, the more you must pay. But no, what they're saying is because you live in an expensive house, you must pay more because other people can't afford it, and because we have to put in a lot of water into the Cape Flats. It's a budget that encourages water wastage, which just goes against the green economy, the world that we are moving towards, which is reuse. So really, really focus on those things. Focus on affordability, on landlords passing costs on to tenants, and it is encouraging wastage. So on this presentation as well, I have the link to the comment form. And that's kind of it. But what I would like to do is go back to a tariff calculator. I'm just going to see, we were just having a problem earlier and I couldn't share screens. So I'm going to try to share a screen to show you, I want to show you the spreadsheet with it's not showing. I want to show you, you can't see my screen. I'm going to try reopening a document and hopefully I will be able to show to you to show how the residential ones go. And then I also want to show you how to fill in the tariff calculator if you haven't done it. Annette, is it possible for people to ask questions?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Debbie. I think that there's a lot, as you said, we're going to cover a lot more. I'm going to actually stop sharing, so you should be able to share now, and then open whatever you need.
I'm going to try sharing entire screen because for some reason Zoom is just not allowing me to share. Can you see that? No, you can. Okay. Okay. So we're going to do it this way.
You're welcome to all type your questions in the chat, or put your hand up, or just unmute yourself. But I think ask to be unmuted, and then we can just have an interactive conversation. That's absolutely fine.
Can you hear Annette? Just suddenly realized.
No, I'm speaking to your laptop, so it's fine.
Oh, okay. Okay. So if there are any questions, I'd love questions. Would you like me to run through a calculator? That's one question. Would you like to run through a comment? So if this screen, you can see it now. So what I'm showing here, so on a 5 million, so the increases, if you can see there, 4 million rand property, it's about an 18% increase. And one thinks that's not so bad, but you know what? It's more than 3 times inflation. A 5 million rand property for a person who's frugal and saves electricity and water, it's a 24% increase. These illustrations show here, this is a 6 million rand property. but it's assuming quite high electricity usage. You can see there the electricity is 550, there the electricity is 850. And because the electricity usage is high, the overall increase is only 16%. The net effect of this is that if you have a 6 million rand property and you have solar, and let's say your consumption is closer to the 550, you're going to be paying 24 to 30% more rates. My direct fixed costs to the city before consumption are 30% higher. So this calculator is really important. So now I'm going to go to the calculator, and I would actually just love someone to give me the value of their house and let's do the calculation. Can you see me doing the calculator now? You can. So lovely. Are there any comments? Is there anything? No comments. Okay. So here I'm just going to make some assumptions. I'm going to take an 8 million rand property. Let me do a 10 million rand property just to show how everything just increases dramatically. You're not a pensioner. This is how you fill in the tariff calculator. You need to have your rates account in front of you to fill in the calculator. And it's quite clubby, I think, and they don't have it for commercial. So for commercial, I've actually created tables to work out the extra costs. Most homes are 15 millimeter. So I'm going to say the 10 million rand property still has a 15 milliliter, and I'm going to say 14 kiloliter consumption. My house, my consumption is about 11 kiloliters, and I really save water. I'm still using buckets to flush toilets and things like that. So I know that I'm extreme, and I'm going to put in a 700 kilowatt consumption. I have solar, and mine at home is about 650. So refuse, I'm going to say 1, but I'm hoping that people with bigger houses are recycling. But I haven't gone through the refuse increase cost. I can go through that table shortly now because I'm sharing my screen. So there's the property value. I've said 14 kiloliters of water, 700 kilowatts of electricity, calculate. So there's the City of Cape Town calculator showing the difference. So that property is going to be paying 2,300 Rand more a month to the city than they were previously paying. And another thing someone has pointed out is that the VAT now is on all these additional tariffs. So if the city had just increased rates, they would at least save us the tariff, the rates, the VAT on the rates. But no, the city have added all these additional tariffs. So now we're paying VAT on all those tariffs. So the VAT portion, our tax portion of what we're paying, is even higher. So perhaps that is something to actually put into your objection as well, is say you would rather have higher rates and less tariffs because then you wouldn't be paying the VAT on the tariffs. Maybe that's another thing to add to the objection.
Can I just interrupt there? There's a comment from Angela. It says, I've run through the calculator several times, all works until the final screen when an error appears and she can't do the final figure. But it seems that we've done that.
I've done that. So have you left something out?
No.
That was why I wanted to go with the calculator. Let me reset it. Perhaps Angela could just give us her parameters and we can just fill them in.
Can you let it in?
Yes, I will.
So, Angela, we can try the way we did it now with all those figures being entered and see if you can't get on there, just send us a WhatsApp and I'll run through the number now with you. Okay, so you need to fill out all of the value, the electricity consumption, the pipe diameter, and all of that. So just try again after this webinar, and I'll type in the chat.
Yeah,
the WhatsApp.
And perhaps also try doing it on a laptop. I have heard from a number of people that certain aspects of this website are not working on phones. So also try doing it on a laptop. I am doing it on a laptop, and I've only done it on a laptop. I haven't tried on a phone. And perhaps that's where the error is coming in. The other thing I have found over time is that the City of Cape Town, sometimes what you have to also do is refresh your screen. Do you see where I'm arrowing there, where I'm circling there? Refresh your screen. Because sometimes when the city changes something, their website goes weird and you have to refresh in order to get it. Sometimes you also have to delete history. And Angela, you can message me privately. You've got my details. I'm happy to help you with this. Okay. What I also wanted to show you was, so this, in that presentation where I've got the links, this is the draft document where I've gleaned this information from. And I've separated it. Okay, this is draft budget page 1. So, and it takes a bit of time to study it. I mean, I had to get ChatGPT to help me work out the commercial tariffs. It was really, and then actually got a very clever colleague to help me with sorting out the commercial tariffs, because I couldn't work out how to do it. You know, the rate in the rand is a much easier system than these value bands. So these are the value bands that the city have created. And so you can see they're each value band, but with commercial property, what happens is that if your property is, say, where my arrow is now, I'm on 2.5 million to 2.7 million. So if your property value is 2.7, it's going to be more than the 63 Rand 10. That's the number, including that. The other thing I'm not sure about is whether or not the city used VAT at 15% or 15.5%. So this VAT number in the proposed budget could be wrong. So I have tried to use the numbers excluding VAT, because I was never sure, well, none of us knew until, was it this morning or yesterday morning, what VAT was actually going to be. So this is just to give you an idea of what the budget looks like. They're the non-residential volumetric tariffs. And then this is what commercial properties will be paying for their pipe size. And this is commercial properties and flats. No, sorry. Flats will be paying on their value. I don't know how they're going to work it for a commercial property in a complex that's mostly residential. You might find the commercial sections are going to pay on this size and the flats are going to pay on that. I don't know. I don't think the city have actually worked it out yet. So we're going to discover a lot when we get our first invoices. But this is why you have to comment. And the biggest thing is affordability. I think, Angela, you mentioned to me, you're on a fixed income. You know, I used to be a double income household. I'm now a single income household. I simply can't absorb another 24,000 Rand a year. I can't. So, you know, my choice is sell your house. I either have to work another week a year, which I can't do. One has to have a break. So go through these. I'm happy to email this to you as well, but I have given a link in the presentation. The next thing I really wanted to go through, also if there are any questions, please ask. The next thing I wanted to go through was how to comment. And just to show you through it, because a lot of people in our area have complained about the capture document, is what I'm doing is I'm going to do this under my son's name because I've already submitted my objection. So I'm going to use his details. I've got his permission. You have to fill in, actually, I don't know his phone number, so I'm just going to say 1, 2, 3. I won't submit, but I just want to show you the process through it, what you're going to be asked for. Oh, wards. You need your ward number. I know Claremont Kenilworth really well, so I can help you with those. There is a thing on the draft budget and also on this calculator where you can find out your ward number. My office is in ward 58, so I'm going to fill that in. And this is where you comment. So the first thing is on the overall budget. That is where I suggest that you comment on affordability, that there's going to be a knock-on effect to consumers. All consumers, regardless of whether you're a property owner. And then on the draft tariffs, if you own flats, I would comment that flats are actually having a higher increase than single residential, even in the lower income bands. I would comment that the supply of water being so expensive and based on value is and the lower water consumption is going to create water wastage, because the more water people use, the actual increases are lower. The logic absolutely confounds me. And again, with flats, many flats don't have water meters, and there's going to be that cost. Then comment on budget allocations for your ward, sub-council area projects. So that is, if you go back to the original budget publication that the city have given, they give a summary of those. My comment is that my councillor doesn't spend any money in my area, and he doesn't. And I can say that for Ward 58 and Ward 59. I find that councillors, so this is where people are struggling, is this capture code. Yeah. What I have found is that's all lowercase. So that letter is an L, and I can say that with confidence. And the Z is a lowercase. So when you're submitting your capture, this has been the biggest complaint in my neighborhood, is it's not accepting it. It's lowercase alphabetically. Okay. Any other questions?
She's typing this in the chat as well.
Okay. I can't believe questions, guys.
I think everyone's a bit overwhelmed, perhaps. I'm going to stop the recording and like to thank everybody at this stage, because I want to keep the file as